Targ, our friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for another Orc Mode workout. And today was max effort squat day. We got a small PR, and that's what we do. Little bitty PRs over and over and over. You guys know the rules. Before we get to the PR, you guys have to reach down and click like down below. You got to keep the likes higher than the dislikes. We're not always doing that every day. So just reach down there, click it. Even if you're watching it a few days later, they've probably drifted up. Dislike bot comes through the next day usually. So click like. All right, thank you so much. Now over to the squat. You guys already saw the PR in the earlier clip, the little preview. But let's get to it. 114 pounds of chains. Now some people be like, there's a little bit hanging down. Yeah, that's the rest of the chains. 114 are up in the air. What I've done with my chains there so that I can micro adjust them, I know what each little section of chain weighs, and I can unhook a third of a chain and let it drop. So there's actually 125 pounds of chains hooked up, but I've dropped 11 pounds off, right? So we have 114. Now we ended up getting 502 plus the chains. So what are we doing with that? That's what I've told you guys. I'm going to keep ramping the chains. My goal was to get to 600 plus at the lockout and then work down. So what I'm going to do, keep loading the chains as heavy as I can while still hitting 500 plus off the bar weight. When I get to as much as I can handle or I run out of chains, I'm going to work it back down. And hopefully on the way back down, we're heavier than we were on the way back up as far as bar weight. So in other words, when I get to, 77 pounds of chains, hopefully we have more weight on the bar than we did when we had 77 pounds of chains last time. We're getting used to the heavy weight. Okay, we're getting used to the heavy weight at the top, being able to lock it, feeling it on top of me, learning to stay tight with that weight, making sure my upper back can support it. Because what I've been finding these days really, as long as my upper back can handle the weight, I can lift it fast. As long as I get tight and I support it up top, I'm good. If you see that there, I mean, it's obviously my upper back is having to work a little bit because it's more weight than I can max at the top. But it's not that bad. It's actually a very mild amount of upper back T-spine movement, especially considering the weight. So I'm happy with that. It's not indicative of a weakness at all. I mean, if I were to squat that amount of weight, full bar weight, and only have that amount of roll at the top, do the math. I'm at almost world record level squat. Okay, so I'm not worried about my upper back. Now, we keep training it, but I'm happy with that PR for now. Keep moving forward. We're going to get to 600 this year. Then I did my hip thrust, bumped the weight a little. And what did I say recently? What I'm going to do more and more, every day I'm going to pick one big movement that I think is the best current overall mass builder for an accessory movement. In this case, it's hip thrust for my squats. And I'm going to try to do 3x10. I'm not going to do 5x10 anymore on these. I'm going to save the heavy volume for the smaller movements. All right, the other stuff. So the hip thrust is what I'm using for this. We have other lifts for deadlift day and bench day. Get my 3x10 as strong as I can and try to progress on it as hard as possible. Okay? So I'm up to 435 on the hip thrust for 3 sets of 10. I think that's getting pretty respectable. And this would probably build my squat over time on its own. Okay. For me, the hip thrust seems to directly improve my squats. And in studies, it's done that for athletes actually. Right? There's clinical trials on this on college athletes and stuff. I feel like it's a phenomenal builder for me, for my personal structure. It seems like it improves my squat directly as far as all my primary movers. So I'll take it. And it's an amazing lift for building glute and low back strength and injury prevention. So that's what I'm using. And then after that, we do large amounts of volume work. Okay, I went ahead and I did 4 sets of 20 on good mornings. Now, some people go like, Jason, why is a good morning squat accessory? Well, hips for one. My hips are my weak link. All right, my most important primary mover for me is hip. And if you guys notice, I use my hips to drive through the sticking point. You guys notice I use my hips to help break, and glutes to help break it out of the floor along with the low quad. Then you see that little tiny bit when I get to a max, start getting real heavy, a tiny amount of knee travel in, but it's very small. It's not like indicative of a weakness. and then I re-engage the hips when I hit the sticking point. When the bar slows and those chains start to add up, I externally rotate my hips and re-speed and accelerate the bar. Notice how fast I lock it out. All right, I'm using my hips to do that. I'm a hip dominant squatter. So anything that strengthens my hips will increase my squat. Number 2, hamstring thickness. You want to get strong at the bottom of a squat. Builds your hamstrings. Why? You can use them to rebound out of the bottom. Okay. When you go deep and you set your footing correctly, you can learn to set your exact stance to where your hamstrings hit your calves, and they create a spring. People say, well, that's cheating. No, because you've built a muscle to create a spring. Use it. In addition, all the low back strength. Okay, if I can keep that weight upright, I can squat it. Okay, what is this doing? It's training my whole back. It will hypertrophy all of my erectors, and it'll keep my low back healthy. Well, if I can build all my erectors to be stronger because I've hypertrophied them maximally, I can keep that bar upright. I can avoid good morninging the squat because I have the erector and T-spine strength to do so. I will lock that squat. I just got to get my hips into it. This will increase my squat. Now, I'm doing it more for my deadlift because I care more about my deadlift right now. Deadlift is a higher priority, but it will increase both. Right? So we're doing it. We're going to do it on squat day. I'm doing it on squat day because it's going to help. My squat's not getting weaker. And I've actually had people say, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I don't need a bunch of quad accessories right now. You guys are watching me PR the squats. You really think I need quad accessories? You think I need to waste resources on that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And for me, my quads blow up anyways. It'd be easy if my quads became a weak link, and I don't think they are. I don't think they were before when I was doing the quad work. It's a whole nother topic. But my quads are not weak. They're big and they're strong. And I think people forget the hip thrust will develop the quads. And the hip thrust will develop a quads in a way that's very specific to the bottom of your squat. That's food for thought, right? Quad training handle. Of course, good mornings will give a little bit of stimulation to the quads. People forget that. But we're getting hamstring, adductor, glute. More importantly, spinal erectors, T-spine. All right? That's what we have to do. Get that squat up. Then we do rows later. And incidentally, after my rows today, before I even came over to do the voiceover, I did one of my sets of really high rep band curls while the footage was loading onto here. Yeah, they were tough after doing all those rows. Because I feel the axle bar rows in my biceps, actually. Because of the grip involved and the forearm involved, and it makes your biceps contract a little more than they probably would normally. But it's besides the point. But yeah, my back. Yes, a lot of my supplemental lifts for my squat do seem to be more geared towards the deadlift. And that's okay because my deadlift is a higher priority right now. My squat is going up. I'll hit my squat goals. I'm built for the squat. That's the ironic part. I'm putting the least work into the squatting. I really am. I mean, I'm putting work into it. For someone who didn't train with the volumes that I train, it would actually be a lot of work. It's just less than I do for other stuff. It's fine. But yeah, the reason I can do less is because my squat probably by the end of the year will be pretty close to a record. Let's be realistic. That's not an exaggeration. Let's look it up. You guys see what I lift. Doesn't mean I'll ever break a record, right? There's a difference between saying, oh, I'm pretty close and actually getting there. Relative to my other lifts, which are going to be nowhere near, right? Nowhere near. squat's reasonable. So I'm stronger at the squat, so the other stuff's getting a higher priority because they're my weaker links. So yeah, my assistance work on these days is a little more geared towards the deadlift, like the rows. All this rowing. This is way more geared towards my deadlift and even my bench. But let's come over to that other point. Does it build the upper back? Yes. 10 sets of 10 on axle bar rows, it builds your upper back, right? I don't think my back's shrinking. My back looks smaller. I don't think so. Right? We're still building upper back. Will that help my squat? Yes. Of course it does. Come over to that other point. Can I keep it upright? So how do we keep it upright? Well, rows help. Good mornings help. Working a little bit different parts of the back. That helps. And we're building a bigger shelf up there to sink that bar into, because how tight I can get that bar set in up top matters. I didn't get the bar set as tight, by the way, with the 482 versus a 502. Right? You guys noticed the bar speed difference? I felt the difference. I got tighter for the final one. I felt like I was able to sink it deeper and explode faster with the 20 pounds heavier because I got it tighter. Got it pulled in tighter up top. Rows help with that. Anyone who doesn't understand that rows help your squat, again, doesn't understand the squat. And anyone who says these rows don't help your deadlift, my God. That's a topic I need to cover, by the way. People are saying, well, this is different than what Kaylor Williams says. I have a lot of respect for Kaylor, by the way. Tremendous amount of respect. Doesn't mean that his supplemental lifts are the best supplemental lifts for you or for the majority of people. It's something people might want to think about. It's kind of like with the Spoto press, right? The Spoto press was everybody's greatest lift ever, even guys who used it and still couldn't bench 300. Yeah, all you guys out there, I added the Spoto press and I'm still benching 255. Yeah. It was the greatest accessory ever because Spoto did it, right? Of course it was. He had the world record. Until someone broke his record who doesn't do the Spoto press. And then someone else broke that record again who doesn't do the Spoto press. Well, then it became a garbage lift. Because it's no longer the preferred accessory, the best in the world. Someone came along and beat him by 10 pounds. That's the problem with picking the favorite accessory lift of a world record holder. Doesn't mean it's not a good accessory. It obviously is. I mean, if a world record holder is using an accessory lift, probably pretty dang good. Okay. But what happens when someone breaks their record who doesn't use that lift? Do you then use their accessory lift? If you're a follower, you do. So one day in the unlikely event, in the near future, very unlikely event because this guy's kind of in his own class, someone comes along and beats Kaylor by 10 pounds on the deadlift in his class. Okay. And they tell you that they row a different way. Will all the people who do it his way change based upon what that person does? That's the question. I bet you they will. Bet you they will. So back over to the point. I row this way for a reason. And generally speaking, unless you have a good reason to do otherwise, doing a strict Pendlay row probably going to help your overall lifts the most. As far as improving all your lifts. And as far as doing very high volumes of training and recovering from it. I like it. I enjoy it. I get a lot of it. My lifters get a lot out of it. And you don't have to go that heavy, and especially go to like the axle bar. Grip training on this is phenomenal. Final set, by the way, I cranked out 12 reps instead of 10, so it wasn't 10 by 10. 10 by 10 plus 2. But overall, guys, I'm happy with the workout. It was a good training session. Got a PR, built some nice fatigue, got some good training in. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.